morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tea and Coffee with Paula and
Jay. And
happy Monday.
yeah, just pushed the button a little bit early there. But again, it's Monday. I feel like Garfield right now. I am grumpy, but you know that. I did not sleep much at all. Headache. Had a headache. But at least we did accomplish some things this weekend, and the oven is in.
Yes. Yep. Oven is in. Oven is working and looks good. Very much.
Great. Lovely. Yeah, and we got more projects to get done. I got to get on the generator. I got to wire up the shelter with some secondary power for the boys' trailer so that we don't have to swap plugs all winter, and to make sure our septic is always plugged in. We kind of just keep borrowing its power, and the septic line. And I think I'm done.
Under
my projects.
Your project.
Oh yes, the diesel heating.
The diesel heat.
Yeah, the diesel. I got a long list, folks.
Yeah, the list is always growing when you listen. You have a homestead, so there's always something added to them.
But yeah, it turned into a 3-day little project. I was hoping it would be 2 days so I can get to the septic. But when we opened up and removed the stove and removed the hot water tank, I think we found our lobby for the mice.
Yeah, so hopefully they're going to be remedying that. They were about, though, scurrying away, trying to get in. I could hear them.
That's from underneath outside.
That is underneath.
Yeah, so we're going to have to maybe put the sauna in there that has a little bait in there, and they can go and hang out there for a bit and just check into that little hotel. But at least they're not inside right now. I think we found all the little places because there's actually two big, well chewed into places that we found.
Yeah, those little buggers will bite through a lot of things to get in. Wood, spray foam, insulation. They make their way in.
Well, lucky for us, I don't think it was wood, because there was water damaged wood that was then filled in with foam. And look, we're discovering this as we open this thing up. It was filled in with foam, so just foam and packed in insulation. So they made it through that. Now we have wood there. This is actual wall. We sealed that all up, and then we used the mouse resistant foam.
Yeah.
So even if they find a way to get in there again, they're not going to like the taste of this stuff. So there we go. There you go, folks. I know this is a news show, and that's news to some people that we now have one more thing done at the property. But I'm tired, grumpy, and I definitely need a little bit more rest today because it was tough last night. All right. So you have some things on your mind?
Well, it was really nice to see some of the tributes within Canada, within Alberta, for Charlie Kirk and Edmonton, Calgary, and Red Deer definitely represent. And I'm sure all around the province as well, there was small and large vigils held for him. So thank you, everyone, for coming out and celebrating Charlie Kirk, and also just speaking up. I think that's the main thing, to show that there's no violence. There was just people standing up and speaking out and saying this is right, and celebrating life.
Yeah, that's very good. And all over the place, there's stadiums putting up little tributes all over the world, not just in North America too. I saw some in Australia and UK and other places. So yeah, Charlie's death, assassination, absolutely is touching a lot of people. And so far, there's been a lot of positive responses. Again, no violence, no retaliation, no attacks. Leftists are kind of, well, the radical leftists. Let's be a little bit more gentle to the people on the left, because they certainly are not all this way. It's the radical left, the far left, radical left, are exposing themselves, and they're finding themselves more and more isolated as people say, I ain't part of that, and they're leaving and becoming Republicans or conservatives or headed straight to the center. So look, I think it's a lot of been positive. The loss of him is not a positive. The impact on his family is not a positive. The fear that it put into a lot of people is not a positive, but there is some positive coming.
Yeah, and it's definitely good to see. And saw a video yesterday, and it was showing about how the left has changed from a decade ago. And it showed that anyone who was left is now classed as right of center, because the left has just got way more left than it has in the past. And a lot of those people that would have called themselves left before, realizing this isn't what I stand for, this is what I agree with. And they're now realizing, and a lot of people have been registering as being Republicans. I've voted Democrat all my life, but I voted for Biden, voted for Kamala, and I'm now a registered Republican because I am and what I.
And a lot of people losing their jobs. So there's now a new narrative, because the first narrative was the right's going to retaliate, they're going to be upset, watch out type of thing. That didn't work. It didn't happen. It didn't provoke. A good job, everybody, on that one. Now the next narrative is, oh, look, these free speech people are not so much for free speech. They're going after people's jobs. No, they have free speech. They absolutely have free speech. But what they're conflating free speech with is free of consequences. Nobody's ever free of consequences. You're allowed to say whatever you want. Nobody's saying shut down their conversation. In fact, when there was a post, a parody account that said, should Elon ban all of these accounts? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Let them do that. You definitely don't need to police that. But free speech is not implying free of consequences. And who better than some of the people on the left who were canceling people for not using pronouns and those kind of things, and not supporting trans and all that kind of stuff, or saying men are not women, for saying that. Who better than to learn what cancel culture means when you do something that's very inappropriate? Now, employers have no in Canada or US, no legal requirement to honor your speech. You can freely say whatever you want, but you don't have to be honored by your employer. So there's a lot of people being fired because the employers definitely do not want to be associated with that kind of rhetoric or behavior or extremism or radicalization, because that's exactly what that is. When you're celebrating the death of anybody, that's exactly what that is. And I do suspect that if there's a trial, and I'm using that very carefully, of this shooter, and it turns out, guilty, and then death sentence, you're not going to see videos of people dancing. It's going to be like justice has been served, and moving on. But look, I think it's a big lesson for a lot of people. There's some politicians, there's a lot of teachers, and just figures in like Stephen King, who learned the hard way that don't go and dance on a grave. It's not acceptable in society, never has been, and it's not about to become a thing. So I'm really kind of glad that society has said no to that. That's everybody. It's not a
Yeah.
right-leaning thing at all. Society has said no to that. But you can see the press right now. Rolling Stone, CTV, others are going, oh, look, they're trying to cancel speech. Not even close. There's a difference.
Exactly. And yeah, let them realize that, yeah, it does have consequences. They do have, at least they have the ability to have US, not necessarily in Canada. They're going to be clamping down on that. But yes, exactly. There are consequences. Say and do. Cool.
And I'm for that. Okay, show your behavior. We have children. Sometimes they have consequences too. This world is not free of consequence.
Oh, but talk about a slight segue, but still Charlie Kirk related. This is a lovely Charlie Kirk quote that's been coming up, and I've been seeing it everywhere in my feed. My money is on the homeschool. They're going to be the ones running society. Charlie Kirk.
Absolutely. And another one from him that making the rounds again is, you learn a lot about a person when someone dies. We're learning a lot about a lot of good people. And that's good too. There's a lot of good too. We're seeing people that are coming out that you would look at and say, hey, look, that's a radical left or something. It's a man all painted up. But what comes out of them is, this is crazy. Don't do this. Don't you stop following me if this is your mentality. Men cannot be women. My name is Jeffrey, is what he said.
Yeah, Jeffree Star.
Yeah. And you're seeing more of that too. There was one in Edmonton where it was a gentleman who wears makeup. He went to the Edmonton vigil, and he was at first worried, but then his response was, the right are the most welcoming, inclusive people there are. He didn't feel in danger at all. So yeah, people are starting to wake up to that now. We've known it, because we don't have hate in our heart, and we don't like that kind of behavior. And we're not radical or extreme, and we feel very comfortable around people like us. So I'm glad some on the left are making their way closer to the center, or understanding that we are not bad people at all.
And understanding what the left has become, the extreme left, and realizing that
the radical left, radical far left. So as we were doing our show on Friday, we found that Stephen King deleted his post. Now he has kind of admitted to that now. He goes, I was wrong and I apologize. I've deleted the post, but we know this isn't coming from his heart. It's coming from his wallet. So my post there was, you are protecting your book sales. Just saying. Because that's what he said there. Just saying. But the cancellation on him's been quick.
Oh, it's been hilarious. That's what that's been. Some of the responses to his post, and then his subsequent deletion of the post.
And now his pushing of his movie. So now we know why he's deleted.
Yeah, and credit to, I don't know, I can't. There was a bookstore that replied and
A
says,
large bookstore in the
"Yeah,
US.
we are now going to be removing all Stephen King books from our bookstore. We know it may affect our sales. However, this is the right thing to do."
Yep.
Well done.
FAFO.
Yep.
There you go.
No, exactly. No, I've really enjoyed some of the responses, and again, all of them. Just saying.
Yeah.
That was his line.
Yep. And but I think this is good for culture. This is setting some limits. Don't be a radical. It's not like he's not allowed to say it. He can say it all he wants, but I bet you he won't again. And if this helps him reflect and learn, great. If others reflect and learn, great. If his pocketbook and the new movie flops, great. And there are rumors that Erica Kirk is looking at suing him for that
For
comment.
defamation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if she'll be successful though, because he did retract it pretty quickly. The same matter, he put it out there. He did explain how it was his wrong. So I'm not sure how successful that will be. But look, we've always had defamation. That didn't get created after Charlie. So people always ran that risk. Again, that's free speech. You can say whatever you want, but there could be consequences.
Cute comment here from Derek. Come on over. We got cookies.
Yes, Derek. Thank you very much. We will always welcome. We are inviting. We are inclusive. We've always been. Remember, it's the Republican side that freed the slaves. It's always, and it was brought to the vote to women. It was always the Republicans that advanced, and the Democrats love to spin it. Okay, breaking. So this is when, what do we got here? Oh, they're just talking about what's on the bullets. I think we're pretty saturated on the Charlie Kirk stuff, so we're not digging into that so much. We talked about it on Saturday. We talked about it last week, and I'm sure there'll be some more today. We have Donald Best and Vincent Gircys. They were coming on originally for their podcast and update on Grus, but I'm sure there'll be more conversation on that one today. Getting back to Alberta, Keith Wilson, as far as the law is concerned, it's all Alberta land. First Nations surrendered the land to the government through treaties in 1876, 77, and 99, all of which have been upheld by the courts. This is another new false narrative. The Maclean's magazine, again, is just quoting a chief. They're wrong. That's not factually correct. The law is simple. The treaties were an agreement to give up all the land except for the reservations, and then in return for that, there were special rights. Don't have to pay certain taxes. Got lots of subsidies and other things. So if you read the treaties, it's an agreement to give up the lands to the Crown at the time, and those were transferred over to Canada. And if Alberta becomes a nation, they'll be transferred again over to Alberta. Nothing will change there. This is a typical media using the First Nations as a pawn, as a scapegoat to try and scare people and turn them away from autonomy, sovereignty, and independence. So thank you, Keith Wilson, Corey Morgan as well. Many keep referring to this. Read the treaties. If you're one of those people that are just passing this on as fact, read the treaties. So shame on Maclean, shame on well, it's tough to say shame on them now because it's their business. It's what they're doing.
It's their agenda. It's their narrative that they're putting.
Yeah. So his father turned him in. We all know this now. Libs of TikTok is a good account to follow. See what's really going on here. So somebody here in Alberta has deleted their account. I don't know much about this person other than you can tell by the flags being posted where they laid their ideology. And this is a self-deleting going on. So this is what I was highlighting here. They are self-deleting accounts. This is not remorse. This is a realization there will be consequences. Good thing many took screenshots and recordings. This is one of the first things I said during all of this as it was coming down, as we did that special episode. Because I was asked, what should people do at this stage? To take screenshots and videos, capture all of this craziness. No retaliation needed. We just need to collect evidence, and it looked like that's exactly what people did. My last point here is we're far more patient than they are, and will not forget the vile celebrations. And this is turning out to be very true.
Yeah. The cancelers become the council.
They laid the rules. They
Yeah.
created the rule book, and now we are rule of law, rules for thee and for me.
Mm-hmm.
So we're making sure we teach the rule of law. Awesome way to end the week with a good laugh, because the Liberals are claiming on the 17th, which is 2 days Wednesday, that they're going to be skipping work in order to bring down Trump's economy.
Okay.
That's just hilarious. That's another type of ego and arrogance. It's the same people that think humans can change the globe's climate. No, you're not going to impact the economy at all. This happened, I want to say in Greenland or Iceland, one of the two, where an entire group, I think it was the women, who said we're not going to go to work in a protest, and it was not
Productivity went up.
exactly. It was not successful. So September 17th, HR will be empty, and people will be at their desk working, because if these radical people go ahead and take the day off, all they're going to do is show how non-valuable they are. And productivity, I think, is going to go up. It'll be the most productive day in U.S. history, I say here. Because I think that's exactly what happened. No more distractions, nobody being soft and careful for an entire day. I think there'll be a lot of people asking them to do this permanently.
Yeah.
Permanently. And a lot of them have already.
The work from home thing as well.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Barbara Perry's in the news again. CBC loves to bring her forward to convince and scare a lot of people. She is no expert. She's not a doctor. There's no such thing as a doctor of hate, but there is a creator of it. There's the instigator of it. She's one of a few here in Canada who have this kind of power. So my post is Barbara Perry is director of the Center of Hate, Bias, and Extremism. And by the way, that's a proper name for it, because she is the center of hate, bias, and extremism. So that's a good name for her organization, and helped draft Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act, the most hateful and dangerous bill ever drafted in Canadian history. How could one person impact Canada in such a negative way? Government funding. Fund her. Absolutely. We had our exposure to her during the Tony Olenek and Chris Carber trial. He's just a vile person. But good news, as these radical left are being more exposed and people are rejecting it now, they'll be rejecting her.
Yeah.
But I do understand that she's still working with Parliament, the Liberals, and drafting more legislation.
And still getting a platform on.
Yep. But everybody's seeing it for what it is now. More and more people are moving away from that, which is great. That's good for humanity. I like that a lot. Rise of Alberta put out a post. The treaties are clear. They ceded. So here we go again. Once again, just read the treaties. It's very clear. So, and First Nations people, don't worry. You're going to be far more taken care of when it comes to the treaties requirements. They'll be more honored under a free Alberta than they are. And why would you want the same thing that you've been fighting against for 150 years? Time for change too.
Yep.
Now, what I do think will happen, because if there's a push for Bruce Party's Bill of Rights Constitution, and by the way, he's back on Wednesday to finish up, there would be no need to have treaties. There really would be no need. Everybody would be treated great instead of cutting out little segments of society. Everybody will be treated great with respect and no force. And there would be no need for those anyways. But we'll get there. It'll be a negotiation. It's weird how when you're following things like Lib of TikTok and you see all this stuff, and every once in a while a Canadian pops up.
Yeah.
And there's this weird feeling like, oh, we made the news. Because there is some association. Like, look, this is Canada. This is Manitoba. But this is one where they're kind of doubling down. NDP is doubling down. She had a really nasty message. I'm not going to read it. But again, consequences. You're showing exactly the type of person you are, and society will reject this, even in Manitoba. And she is starting to apologize now, much like Stephen King. But it takes a lot of time to erase one of these errors. Got to do a lot of good going on, and I don't think it's in her at all. We're getting through here. So Detective Helen Grus was right. Stop prosecuting her now. because the U.S. is now declaring things like there are links to child
Yeah.
deaths. There are links.
Yep.
So Pfizer Moderna shares fall on report that Trump officials will link child deaths to COVID shots. So absolutely, we've known this all along. Pfizer knew this. They put it in their papers. So this is not news to the people who've been paying attention. But if you were part of the following the narrative and the propaganda machine, this might be news to you. But good on them down there for breaking this. And this door is wide open now. So why are they even prosecuting at this stage? Why even come out with the decision of sentencing? She was never wrong to do what she did. But I don't suspect Ottawa police or anybody's going to stop anything. They really should, though. Like, they really should. All right. You're on the right side of history when you're sending prayers to the family of the shooter, because, again, the inclusive side is the right side. And that's exactly how you should be acting. Rachel Gilmore, we don't need to say more about her. Okay, so back to Alberta. This Canada Forever, Thomas Lusakic. Did I get it right? Lusakic?
Yeah.
Lusakic? Okay. Yeah, so he hasn't released any numbers. I have heard some rumblings of numbers. He's not even at the halfway point of his collection of signatures, but he's now at the halfway point for his time for it. He has 90 days. He's at the 45-day mark, 45 days left to go. But as I would expect, the beginning is when you get your rush. When you come out with it and you go hit the cities and you set up your booths and you start going to the communities, the people that are going to sign are the ones that will come out. So the first 30 days are going to be a lot more than you get in the last 30 days, typically. Okay. Especially if you're not prepared and you didn't actually have a list of people that want to sign like the APP has. And at this stage, he hasn't reached the 50% mark, or at least he hasn't provided any updates. The news has dropped him. Even the mainstream isn't talking about him anymore. And he's now pushing rural areas, which mean you didn't get your numbers in urban. Yeah. So if you're coming to rural areas for this, good luck. And as we saw with the Drayton Valley Facebook page, he turned off comments.
Oh, the Stony Plain and stuff like that.
Okay. So when you're turning off comments when you're going to areas, it's because you know they're not favorable for you. So I think this is going to be dead in the water. I believe that Albertans turned their back on him. It's not all, okay, but enough did that he's not getting his numbers. The NDP turned their backs on him because he did try and prop them up and replicate, excuse me, I got hiccups, some of their messaging, and they're not supporting him because many believe that he actually didn't plan to actually have a petition be successful. He's just collecting tens of thousands of signatures to start a new party. And the NDP want none of that. They don't want another party in Alberta. So the rumor is, that the NDP turned their back on him because they don't want to support his party, because everybody knows it's not going to be a successful petition. And then, of course, Facebook. He's not getting support there. He's turning off comments. All right. So here's what I was talking about earlier. This parody account asked, should X remove the accounts for people that are cheering the death of Charlie Kirk? I said, no. We want the evidence. Let them show us who they really are. It's best their employers, family, and friends see it too. And that's happening. So, and that's self-inflicted. So, but that's people with short-sighted thinking and very, very much anger in their heart. That's what's going to happen to them. They're shooting themselves in both feet and then blaming the gun. But they're the ones doing it. Never forget and remember her as well. So I can't say her name. Yeah.
Rania, I don't know. But yes, the unfortunate, the beautiful woman just innocently sitting there on the train.
So
attacked.
and the update on this guy is they've now stopped his trial and he's going for mental evaluation, and he's likely going to be deemed insane and put into a hospital for the rest of his life instead of a prison. That's where that one appears to be heading. But that was ugly. Okay, so a bad week. First her death and then Charlie's. But James Woods is quite the account to follow. Certainly is very blunt. He's one of the few that come out, and probably why you don't see him in many movies anymore is because when you do that, you get blacklisted. But good on him for coming out. This was a setup for the Saturday episode, and hi, Donald, we'll see in a bit. Because There are certain questions. Okay, let's read this to you. So, gentle reminder, if you're not allowed to question the narrative, it's an agenda. If it's an agenda, it's not in your best interest. I have questions, and already it's clear that it would be dangerous to ask them. So that's what we'll be doing tonight. God help us all. So where am I heading with this is because I'm an older man now. Okay, I can say that. I'm an older man. I've been through many shocking moments now, from 9/11 to this. Many, 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 many. And then I've also been around when once prior to that, like JFK and many, 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 Vietnam War, many, 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 all the way down to like World War II, where that bad man burnt down his own parliament and blamed it on other people. Many, 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 many times. It's never what it seems. It doesn't end up being what it seems. So I want to be careful of just eating and accepting all the information coming out of media and officials, because there's a lot of things that bother me with already. Some of the information doesn't quite add up, doesn't quite line up. And the one that bothers me the most is during the press conference for the announcement of we got him, a press member said, okay, so you've laid out things like Discord, and he was chatting in Discord and all this kind of stuff. This could mean other people are involved. Are you looking for other people and making additional arrests? And they quite simply said, no, we got everything we need.
Yes.
How that happened so quickly and truthfully and honestly, I don't believe it for a second. Because there's no way. Like even in their press conference, it was like he was chatting with somebody about hiding the gun and then where he hid the gun. So before and after the event. What do you mean there's nobody else involved? What do you mean you've already done it? What do you mean it's exhaustive and you're not just like a question just like that? Now, I do know that if we're now at that stage again, where if you question something, you're going to be attacked and people are going to attack you. So you can't talk about that. And that's when I get most suspicious. When you get pushed hard by all sides and everybody that you can't talk about that, well, that's what I want to talk about then, because we've been through this enough. Okay, Marxist dialectic. We've had his name now on so many times. Vlad, yeah, we've had Vlad on so many times. Are we not going to learn this yet? Like, take it with a grain of salt. I think a lot of it's true. Some of it is not necessarily intentional misleading. It's just not correct yet. And there's been no time in history where they got it all right in 48 hours.
Right.
So let's just kind of calm down. I do believe he's gone. I do believe he was shot by one bullet. I do believe even the person who they have is the right person. But I'm not going to say much more than that, other than we can't put a bow on this and call it a day. We've learned this too many times. All right. Well, Gray Matter podcast, Vincent Gircys, not Vincent Gircys, I just saw him pop up, so his name was in my head. Leighton Gray, follow him as well. He likes to keep things fresh. And I'm going to end it here. So our episode on Saturday for Source One, it's fiery. Okay, it definitely had its moments at the beginning where conversation was being shut down, and let's not get into any blame game here, because some people even took themselves out of the conversation. So that also was a way of shutting down conversation. But the attempt was to have a pretty open dialogue around people's perspectives. And some people have very, very strong perspectives because they are journalists. And I'm talking about Michael Yon. He is somebody I've followed for quite some time. I highly respect him. He's been on a show at least twice before, and he'll be on again soon. So those that wanted to hear what Michael have to say, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's definitely coming, because I have a high respect for him, a very high respect for him. He's on the front line. He's in a dangerous territory. And he's always been very open and friendly and welcoming to sharing his information with us. And then I met a new person, Goldie something, an MPP, ex-MPP from Ontario, from Iran. She's sharing a lot of good information about what happened to her country with Islamists. No, but she has a term for it. It's like extremism, but it's got the word in it. Anyways, it's what got her kicked out of Parliament under Doug Ford. And yeah, she had a lot of good things to share about the history of how her country was overrun by extremism. And it's a good episode. Do watch it. But I will be having Michael Yon on to complete what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
He is not a racist in any way, shape, or form. If you follow his stuff for any amount of time, you know that he is not afraid to talk about the things that are taboo and a lot of people don't like having to hear. And this is why I had that previous post, because I knew where we were going to go with this. I was hoping to go with this. And unfortunately, that conversation ended. So we went on to other topics, but I will be having Michael back.
So for those of you who've put in the chat that
many have asked,
yeah,
like, I want to hear what he has to say. Yes, don't worry, we will have him back. I've already talked to him, so he said yes. All right, now let's get to the gentleman of the day, Mr. Donald Best. Good morning, my friend.
Morning, Donald.
Good morning. How's my sound?
Your sound's great. Yep.
And great. Do I look 25 and young as Vincent?
And we got good old Vincent Gircys as well. Vincent, your episode has been going like crazy. People love hearing from a police officer, a provincial level, talking about Alberta needing police and that kind of stuff. And Donald, yours is going to be out in a couple of days, maybe by the end of this week. So thank you both for sitting down with me for the Alberta self-determination. It's been fabulous. And I couldn't be more pleased, Vincent, with how except for I was fuzzy tonight. But your conversation was fantastic. So thank you very much for sitting down with us on that.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so Donald, I reached out to you last week and I said, hey, we need a full update now on Grus. We also want to hear about your podcast and how that's going, because you're just getting amazing people to show up to have conversations. And then, a bunch of things happen on Wednesday. So I guess we got a lot to talk about, right?
We sure do. Every time we talk, it's what a week. But here we go. So Detective Helen Grus, everybody should know by now that she was that Ottawa police detective who back in January 2022, her squad noticed that there were baby deaths, a cluster of them, happening at 3 times the normal rate before the vax. So naturally she wondered, and she went to the chief and she went to her superiors and she said, I think we should be investigating this. So she started to. She initiated that investigation, just like thousands of police across this country initiate thousands of investigations every day without permission. They just go and do it because that's their job. But she discovered that her unit had not been properly investigating the deaths. When you investigate an infant death, you ask the parents, any medicines in the house? Are you on prescriptions? The baby on prescriptions? Did you have any vaccines? Did the baby have any vaccines? Are there any recreational drugs in the house? That's standard. That's been there for 50, 60, 100 years. And because she started questioning, the Ottawa police suspended her. Then they wiretapped her and her family illegally. We know now that the Public Health Agency of Canada personnel were right in there from the start. This is Big Pharma protecting their own. It was all political. The investigation was fueled by political motivations right from the start. Some rogue officers betrayed their oath of office, and through the whole file at Shamini Yogaratnam, a CBC reporter, and the CBC effectively took over the police investigation. Yes, you heard me say that. They took over the police investigation by telling the Ottawa police that they had 24 hours to notify the parents of the 9 deceased infants, that the CBC was going to put this, it was just a hit piece out. And so they did. Eventually, Detective Grus was called in for an interrogation. It lasted 3 hours. During that time, she provided her whole investigative file to the Ottawa police. The Pfizer documents, everything, every connection that she'd made, why her suspicions were there, all the medical information that she had gleaned. Don't forget, this was back in 2022, at that point, by May. So she was charged not with disobeying an order, because she didn't disobey an order. She was charged with just this sort of random, discreditable conduct. And when she was convicted, It was incredible what the trials officer said. The trials officer convicted her because she launched an investigation without asking for permission in circumstances where her investigation had political and societal ramifications. And further, she investigated public officials. So the case law that this tribunal officer, it was an internal trial, not criminal or anything, they put forward that all police officers now need to ask permission if a crime has political ramifications or if there are public officials, politicians involved. Police officers have to get permission, like in Pakistan and India, just like that. So she was convicted, and on Wednesday, September 3rd to Friday, September 5th, just this past, it was supposed to be her sentencing hearing. Well, just a few days before the hearing, the prosecutor served the defense, Bathsheba Vandenberg. I know you've had her on our show. We have two. Wonderful defense lawyer. So that's Grus's lawyer, and they served the defense lawyer with multiple new documents. Don't forget, they've known since March that she had been convicted. They waited 6 months to serve just a few days before the trial, or before her sentencing hearing. They served her with new documents, including a victim impact statement from Anonymous. Yes, from Anonymous. The prosecution actually wanted to put in an anonymous victim impact statement. Well, that was thrown out. Not much else has been thrown out. The tribunal officer did not allow during the trial any defense expert witnesses. So the trials officer disallowed 3 expert medical witnesses who would have testified that Detective Grus was right. She was right. Well, everything says that she was correct. And by the way, the Ottawa police stopped those investigations into those dead infants. So why did you stop them? Here's the evidence. That would have been the medical testimony. That was disallowed. They also had a lawyer who was going to testify as to the legality of what she did. She had authorization. Her duty called for it. She was acting under her experience and her judgment in all those years. Very senior detective, a training officer and a mentor, scheduled for promotion. She made a decision to initiate an investigation. That was her duty. It was by law. The other end witness was going to be the Ottawa Police Sergeant Major, retired. This is the man who is the top non-commissioned officer. He is the liaison between the non-commissioned ranks and the chief. And he was also in charge of ethics. And he was going to testify as an expert witness that what she did was ethical and perfectly acceptable. And in fact, she shouldn't be charged. None of those witnesses were allowed. So on Thursday, the court, this last Thursday, the 4th, the tribunal officer came back and disallowed the anonymous witness or anonymous victim statement, which frankly I was surprised. The whole thing's been so biased. I could go on for an hour about what was done during the trial. Say again?
I bet you could, because there's so much here.
Oh, it's just insanity. An inspector from the Ottawa Police, in writing, criminally threatened Detective Grus moments before she was scheduled to testify in 2024. An actual criminal threat. Don't testify about this and do not use this evidence. That's right in the criminal code. It's also obstruct justice. He resigned a few weeks later without having to be accountable for his criminal acts, but he resigned. So, this has just been an insane situation. Anyway, on the Thursday, September 4th, Bathsheba Vandenberg submitted, in response to all the documents that were thrown at her at the last minute, 1,000 pages of affidavits and case law. Affidavits from Canadians coast to coast, police officers, civilians, retired police officers, serving police officers. She submitted 1,000 pages. Well, the the trials officer went absolutely ballistic when he saw that one of the affidavits, and I presume many more, I haven't seen them, one of the affidavits was from Natasha Gunnick, and it was evidence about Detective Grus was correct, of course. And he said right there and then he wouldn't allow it. Now, there was no motion from the prosecution. He just said that. I mean, it's a kangaroo court. And so the whole thing ended when Bathsheba Vandenberg, God bless her, she stood up and she said that words to the effect, this court has been concealing criminal negligence. And this is still ongoing. That was, I mean, she gave a much better speech than that, and that's kind of paraphrasing it. But it ended in chaos, adjourned to another day because, frankly, the prosecution's correct. They can't be given 1,000 documents and expected to read 1,000 pages, expected to read them over the lunchtime and argue, knowledgeably about what they want to say. Okay, fine. But what's it look like now? January, February, I don't know. 3.5, we'll probably almost hit 4 years after this whole thing started. It is the longest, most expensive disciplinary hearing in Canadian police history. Vincent and I were trying to figure out how much they spent on this. It's got to be over $1 million. And
I mean, how much we have spent on it, like the
oh
taxpayers.
yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
So there we go. There's the update. I know Vincent will have some things to say, and he was there too. But we didn't see the CBC there. We didn't see the Ottawa Citizen. We didn't see the Globe and Mail. We didn't see all these papers, the Toronto Sun, the National Post, and Global, and all that we're on a mission to defame and inflame and just pump this up and never ask, what killed the dead babies? What killed the dead babies?
Well, I think the Trump administration has now kicked that door wide open. Maybe this little delay is going to be helpful. Who knows? Maybe the public pressure on the OPS itself to follow the science and follow what's going on south of the border. Maybe this little delay might actually be helpful. Who knows? I know I've called on them to drop it and pay her fees and let her get back to work. And Vincent, thank you so much for being there as well. Your posts are great. You keep putting stuff out about Detective Helen Grus. And let me quickly ask you, Vincent, as we get into this some more, are you seeing more and more support for her come out? Are more and more people coming out of the shadows to support her? Are you seeing that kind of stuff happen?
Well, I'm not sure if the numbers are really growing, but there's certainly a lot of people who are being very vocal about it and who are discussing the issue. Listen, it appears by every single metrics that the entire Western world is in free fall collapse, whether it's the medical side of things, education, politics. There's no question things are falling apart. And I'm so glad that I eventually was able to meet and team up with Donald because, from the law enforcement and justice side of things, that's our forte and what we look at. And looking closely at what we're seeing from the justice side, and the Helen Grus story is probably the most egregious that we have ever seen, first in the law enforcement community, but secondly, in tying together this entire pandemic era that we had just gone through over the last 5 years, with the people that we have met, the amount of resources and information that we've been able to digest. It is abhorrent to find out who was involved, how they were involved, and how they were all running cover for each other. What would be obvious to us, people who are following Detective Helen Grus's case, is quite telling. Unfortunately, most police officers that you deal with out on that are out working on in the field level, if you have conversations with them, they don't know who she is. They don't know anything about her case for the most part. And that's very, very, very troubling. I have to say. So we have taken it upon ourselves to launch a project that I think is really growing momentum, and it is called the Grus Justice Project. And in that, the core mission is to, first of all, try to reestablish the rule of law, which is a huge component in this issue. And secondly, to bring to the public's attention the fact that police no longer have the independence to conduct investigations without interference, this political interference. We have seen it. You have seen it, Jason. Anybody, maybe most of your listeners have seen it, but most of the Canadians have not. So it was really important that we launch a website, create a group, a working group towards addressing these issues on the justice side of things. Our mission in attempting to reestablish the rule of law and the independence of police and their investigations, will we achieve that objective just as a result of the launch of this campaign? Perhaps not, but we will certainly drive attention to this story, to these issues, and to the entire police community. Nobody has yet been liaising with the Canadian Chiefs of Police Association, the Ontario Chiefs of Police Association, the police associations themselves that are responsible for what we're seeing unfold, the leadership within policing, and even the primary police magazine that is issued called Blue Line Magazine that posts stories about what's going on in law enforcement, which is the #1 publication that everybody in law enforcement looks at. It was quite troubling to look through that magazine over the last year at articles that were published or the last few years and see what is not being discussed, the subject matter that is not being talked about. And I think that's the elephant in the room.
And I love this website that you have. So I'm just going through it to show it to everybody. We've shared the links and we'll make sure it's in our description as well, because it's a great way to not only just catch up on what's going on and stay up to date, because I saw an update there for the sentencing, but you're also making a call out to police themselves, serving members. And I think this is where a lot of justice can easily happen if they take that call, because they're still active. They're the ones that can bring forward investigations and follow through on this. And there's also a donation page here, because this does require some funds to keep things going, because this is the media channel now. You guys have to do it on your own. Like Donald said, CBC and the rest are not bringing this up. They're not even talking about it at all, let alone in the right way. So you guys definitely have taken on that baton to get this out there all over the world. So far, how has that been? Have you been able to get donations flowing so that this can become hit all over the world? And is that your plan, to get this media and this information globally? Donald or Vincent on that one?
Well, first of all, the Grus Justice Project is a registered Canadian nonprofit corporation. It's not just a website. And although the project is named in honor of Detective Helen Grus, even when her case is finished, no matter how it finishes, this will continue. It's really all about the rule of law, and also to restore the autonomy and independence of police officers to initiate criminal investigations, any investigations, without political interference. And we're getting a lot of support. If you look at our board of directors, we have Giselle Barbereau and Vincent and Ted Kuntz, all very, very good people. We have many people who have contacted us who are serving police officers, lots of retired police officers, lots of lawyers, but many serving police officers. And they need a voice, because what's happened here, it's quite obvious that Detective Helen Grus is being set up as an example to keep all police officers in line. Your career, your family will be wiretapped. Your career will be destroyed. You will never be promoted if you investigate, just like they said, crimes that have political ramifications or public officials and politicians. And we think that's just disgusting. And so do all Canadians. We've got a lot of things going on, a lot of projects in the work. You're going to see, I think, mention of this in some of the mainstream media and many of the alternative medias. We have a nationwide project, which will be announced shortly, that it will reach every police officer in this country and remind them and support them, but remind them that they have a duty to be independent of politics, to be independent of influence, and to do their duty and to uphold the rule of law. And frankly, we have seen a lot of that not being done very much since the entire COVID thing happened, but it's been coming for a long time. So we're hoping that we will have an influence, but we also reflect the desire of so many police officers to have somebody speak for them. Their unions aren't speaking for them. The top brass is political. I mean, look, the RCMP commissioner at the time, Brenda Lucky, at the time in 2022 of the worst massacre in Canadian history, that down in Nova Scotia, where the man dressed as an RCMP officer and shot all sorts of people, including police. And the commissioner of the RCMP phoned up the homicide squad that was investigating it very early in the game and ordered them to release the type of rifles that the man used to further the Liberal government's political anti-gun agenda. And she said it just like that. Somebody had a recording going. And there we have the top law enforcement, the top police officer in the land willing to undermine a homicide investigation to please her political masters, the people who appointed her. And my friends, if you can't see the corruption there and how it was done so openly, the same thing with the Grus trial, the same with so many other things. We now have a situation in Alberta, Jason, where we're in Alberta now. Police must ask the Crown for permission before laying charges. That's not the way it should be. That's not the way it ever was. The police lay the charges. Oh, sure, if the Crown looks at them and says it's not correct, then the Crown will take exception or maybe ask for some more evidence. But now we have a situation in Alberta and many jurisdictions there where police must ask for a political permission to lay any charge. One RCMP corporal complained about it, gave a briefing, and boy, they came down on him like a ton of bricks. So this is insidious. It's an infection that's running through law enforcement, and it's undermining the public trust. Canadians no longer trust their police services and the individual police officers to do the right thing because they know that they are becoming muscle for the political class.
Thank you, Donald. And it might be worse than that even in Alberta. There may be evidence that the Crown directed police during the border blockade. So we're going to stay on top of that for sure. It's supposed to be a separation there. Vincent, one of the other things that you guys are doing in addition to the project and thank you, Donald, for expanding that. It's not just for Grus. This is going to be an ongoing thing. That's exactly what Canada needs. Great that that board of yours came together for that. And I'm very excited to see how that grows over the years. Vincent, Deprived Justice, your podcast. So what you guys are doing there too, I think this is what we needed in Canada at the right time, was to have these conversations on a weekly basis. And you had some great guests last week related to the Grus trial. So Vincent, let me ask you, What got you involved in this? Because it's not like, I think you're more like me, where this is not our path. This is not what we thought, like, hey, let's go become a podcaster. Let's get out there and make our lives public. This is certainly not the path that we thought we would be on, but here we are. We're doing it. So why are you doing it? And are you seeing a good response from the show that you guys have now?
You know, Jason, that is such an amazing question that you just asked, because I asked myself that same question before I came on this show. And it reminded me of during the course of my police career, I became very aware that there are two types of police officers. There are those who the career and the uniform and the organization becomes their identity, their sole identity, and they really just can't depart from that. And then there are those who have a whole different life. And, you know, I love carpentry. I love building my own furniture. I love renovating homes and all kinds of other things. I've got a million projects on the go. And so I was certainly not immersed in the police culture whatsoever. And when it came time to retire, I happily got to move in a different direction. So I really did not want to come back to where I am now. It's something that was really working against my my beliefs. But with what we went through in the last 5 years, just from my background and looking closely at what was going on, I was very, very put out by what I was seeing from the law enforcement perspective and the judicial side of things and all the mandates that came out and whatnot. But the more I became involved, the more I was able to extract myself from the organization and community, the police community that I belonged to. And I was able to open my mind. And I have to say, it was my police organization that taught me how to open my mind to all other aspects of what's going on in life and conducting my investigations. So I opened my mind. I just unlocked it and said, let's just look at what's really going on here. And when you realize that the media is saying one thing, but what I'm seeing is something else, the moment you figure out that you're being lied to by the media, and I think that's a big problem we have in this country, is that the majority of people will just trust and assume that the information that you're being provided must be correct. And once you realize that that assumption is false, your entire worldview changes. So in the last year or two, following the COVID era, watching what's been happening on the political side of things, I've come to realize that in law enforcement, in our judicial system, looking very closely at publications put out, if you just go and research the Canadian Chiefs of Police Association website, just look at all their content that they put out there, and then go to the Ontario Police Association, and then go to all the other police associations, and then look at Blue Line magazine, which is the main publication that they're all getting. What information is not in there? What is missing from it? And where they all promote open working dialogue with the community, they want to forge relationships with the community and listen to multiple perspectives and get diverse views. That is not the case. You're in there working with them in having conversations and meetings that when you share the same perspective, it's an echo chamber. And that's what I have seen. It's a complete echo chamber within that system. And it is not exclusive to the justice side of things. It's not exclusive to law enforcement. I'm sure teachers see the same thing. I'm sure the healthcare system sees the same thing. You cannot have an opinion or have a voice if you're not playing along with these dominant narratives. And that is extremely troubling. So I feel that I'm one of very few voices on the justice side, and Donald as well, that are on the justice side of things, saying there's a whole thing going on the other side of this that we cannot talk about, we cannot discuss, and we're trying to crack inroads into this conversation of what needs to be discussed on so many issues. Everything that we know of, our worldview, is not made available optically. It's not there. It's not in discussion. And so everyone in the system has this perspective, and operates based on a complete false perspective, a lie. and it's a huge lie. And I thank Dave Freedom for putting together the intro to our Deprived Justice series, where he surprisingly captured a video component where I say it's such a big lie. It is.
And that's kind of what we were talking about before you gentlemen joined us is once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I have the exact same problem with what we're seeing here with the Kirk stuff. So Charlie Kirk, I'm not going to lay any blame, point any fingers, or say here's what I think happened, because I have no idea. I'm just consuming, as we all are, very early, and I'm pretty sure in the years to come we'll still be talking about this one too, because unfortunately we do have a system where the media will lie to you, and we have seen police lie as well. Not all the time, okay? So I do want to put that out there. There's always nuggets of truth, but I think I'm gonna have to bring you both back in the near future to dig into the Charlie Kirk stuff as well. Donald, you have like a minute or two. We got to wrap up, but let me just pose that same question to you. Why do you do the show now? Because there's no upside. You don't get rich on this. It's a lot of public attention and sometimes negative. So why is it that you still do this?
I do it for my children and grandchildren and for Canadians, because it's all about the future. Are we going to have a country where law enforcement and the judiciary are servants of the political powers in class, and the rule of law means nothing? Two-tier policing, two-tier courts. Think of all the scandals we've had in Ottawa, billions and billions of dollars gone, not one arrest. And a RCMP commissioner, the former one who gave the Prime Minister a big hug, and the current RCMP commissioner who stands with the current Prime Minister in a photo with their arms around each other like they're good buddies, like they've known each other for decades. And this is the man and the organization responsible for investigating corruption in the Canadian government, or even at the Prime Minister's level. And they're just standing there like they're good buddies. Well, it's time we went back to the rule of law.
Well, some people say that we're in a 5th generational warfare right now, which is an information warfare. That would make you guys part of the fight, so you're soldiers, in the guerrilla warfare, because we've got to fight back hard on a grassroots level if this is an information warfare. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for being here today, doing what you do. And if it wasn't really for the two of you, very few people would know about Detective Helen Grus. There are others that are doing it, but the two of you are the ones that are definitely the tip of that spear to get that information out. So God bless both of you. Love both of you. Yeah. And we definitely will have you guys back soon.
Thanks, Paula. Thanks, Jason. And it's really great to see your show. I mean, you see me tuning in mornings. I love it. I just love it when Donald. You go through the whole thing, the whole world in the morning with a coffee.
Well, the question is, what are you drinking? Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
All right. One for coffee. Vincent, are you a tea or coffee guy?
Double espresso. Super strong.
Well, you need lots of energy. Well, gentlemen, have yourself a great day. Thanks for coming on, and we look forward to Wednesday's show as well from both of you. Take care, okay?
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so Canada is in good hands when we have justice like that coming forward, to people bringing that kind of stuff forward. I think Canada is going to be okay. Yeah. Whatever Canada looks like in the next few years is going to be better. I think this is now, we're on the uphill on side of this. And I do mean that. We're in a 5th generation warfare, which means about information. And you and I are soldiers on that front too. And we're joined by gentlemen like that as well.
Yeah.
And if you ever thought about getting your voice out, I don't care if you never wanted to be a podcaster, consider doing it. Because neither was I. Yeah. But this is what we need now. We need people to pick up a microphone, not a gun, and get the information out.
Yeah, just share that information out. I agree. And yes, a sad comment here from Wilf. Pretty sad. Pretty sad. A police officer don't know.
Yeah, but some do, and there's a lot of quiet. I just saw an article here that said most university students are being quiet about their actual views, and over 50% are now conservative and Republican, which is a tipping point. So I think we're in good shape. We just got to keep this fight going.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Like it says, the cancelers are becoming the cancelees right now because they're realizing like they just thought the power was in their hands. It's like, no, you are going to get consequences.
Well,
with
they
your
were
free speech.
bullies. They used
Yeah.
bullying techniques. People understand that, and they're not fed up, and they're not scared anymore. So great. So everybody, take care. Have yourself a wonderful day. Share this out. Make sure you check Vincent and Donald's episode on Wednesday, 7 p.m. It looks like Eastern, and every week Wednesday. So check
Yep.
it out.
Have a great day, everyone.
We love you all. God bless.